Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Be Green with Amy. I'm Amy. After adopting a whole food plant-based lifestyle, my hubby Rick and I lost over 130 pounds. Now I coach others on their plant-based journey. Just Task Voice. Let's welcome our guest.
Do you want to learn how to heal your thyroid naturally? Plant-based nutrition coach Jennifer Diamond shares her powerful journey, recovery protocols, and a delicious recipe demo. Please click like to help Be Green with Amy. Welcome, Jennifer Diamond.
Greetings, Green Warrior, and welcome back, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Amy. It's just a pleasure to always be invited back to your beautiful show and be able to share things. Thank you for having me again.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. You always have such great information and you create yummy food, and we're going to be talking about that in a minute. But Green Warrior, do you have questions about how to naturally support your thyroid? Let us know in the chat. We're going to be talking about that, and Jennifer is very knowledgeable about this because she actually is managing her thyroid, and she's got a lot of great tips and information because she's done quite a bit of research and has had fabulous results. And she's also going to be doing a recipe demo. Tell us what you're going to be making.
Yeah, so I am going to be making a sweet potato and spinach bowl today. And it's delicious and really good for thyroid.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. We already have some Green Warriors that have tuned in. You have a lot of fans. So Greenings Carrie, and there's plant-powered peddler Janet. She's been on the show. She's saying hey to you. Greenings, Janet. And there's Roxy. Greenings, Roxy. Oh, and there's Mona. Greenings, Mona. And Todd. Greenings, Todd. So we look at all these people that have already hopped on, and we're going to probably have more people coming up soon. But I just wanted to give all those shout outs before we began. So yeah, you're going to be making a really great recipe. You're going to be talking about thyroid, which a lot of people really are concerned about that. And I'm hoping that the Green Warriors will type in the comments if they're dealing with thyroid problems, or if maybe they know somebody that is. And if you do know somebody, Green Warrior, that is having this struggle, share this broadcast with them. Tell them to hop on. And of course, Jennifer's going to take questions from you guys after she does the recipe demo. And so please, you can type them in now. We'll save them up for a little bit later. So we're going to do things in a different way because Jennifer really wants to show you the whole process of what she's making. So at her suggestion, and I think it's great, what she's going to do is begin the recipe demo so that she could get it cooking up for us. And then later on, she's going to finish it up. So should I just get you started, Jennifer?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I thought it would be fun to, instead of just have everything prepped, to show you a few things. So the first thing I wanted to just do is get the sweet potato prepared. And so what I did was I just took a raw sweet potato. This is the orange. You can use any sweet potato you want. I just went with the standard one. And then I peeled the skin off. You don't have to peel the skin off. I know a lot of people like the skin. I typically eat the skin, but for whatever reason, I decided to peel the skin. And then what I just did was I diced it up. And the original recipe then talks about tossing some seasonings in it. But I find that because we don't use oil, it wasn't sticking as well. So I'm going to try something new with you. And I'm just going to take a tablespoon of vegetable broth. I usually make homemade vegetable broth, but I just happen to have this store-bought one. And if you do use a store-bought one, then I would recommend checking the ingredients label, of course, to see what's in it. This one I like because it's no salt added and there's no oil or anything like that, no sugar, it's just vegetables. So, so what I have here is, and I'll see if I could show you just these kind of chopped up pieces. And then I'm just gonna take a tablespoon of the broth. What if you don't have broth, or, you know, you could use water, I guess, but the idea is I want the seasonings to stick on the potato a little bit better. Now, if you don't have either of those, you can do it dry. The thing is that when you're done, you might find some of it at the bottom of the Silpat or whatever you use on your cookie sheet. And so I'm just stirring it up just to coat it a little. You'll see there's no liquid like puddling. It's just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and add these spices. And what I have here is granulated onion. I've got a little bit of cumin. I have turmeric, which is a fantastic spice for inflammation, bringing it down, I should say, anti-inflammatory. And then you can use any no salt seasoning and some black pepper. And so I'm literally, just gonna, a little bit got stuck in here, just gonna pour all of that in there. You could mix them up first and then pour them in, and then you could just toss it with your hands or toss it with, however you want. The other way that you could do it is pour it directly on the cookie sheet and then sprinkle the seasoning on, which is what I was doing, but I wanted to try this and it seems like it's sticking pretty well. So what I have here is, and there's a little bit here, but I'll just get it off. I have a silpat on a cookie sheet, and that's just a covering so that it doesn't stick. If you don't have a silpat, you can use parchment paper, which is really fantastic as well. And I just want to make it single layer. And that's it. So I'm going to rinse my fingers and pop this in the oven. I have the oven already preheated at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to put it in for about 25 to 30 minutes. Depending on the size of your little potato cubes will depend if you need a little bit more or a little bit less time. So you'll just want to keep a watch on it at about the 15-minute mark. So let me put this down really quickly. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. I'm going to put it for 25. I'll put it for 25 minutes. Okay. The next thing that I want to do before we get talking about thyroid is cook up some quinoa. This is the one that I'm choosing for today. You can use any grain that you want. I personally do the gluten-free. And so I decided to choose quinoa. You could do millet, you could do buckwheat, you could do lots of different ones. And then what I have is I have the insert to my Instant Pot. We're going to have the Instant Pot going right here. And I've already measured out a cup of the quinoa and I rinsed it really well. And that's why I have it over this bowl so it could drain any liquid. And I'm just going to pop it in here. But because I rinsed it, it's sticking. So let me just get it all in here. And then, there we go. And then I'm just going to take to that 1 cup, a cup and a quarter of clean, filtered water. This is what I love so much about the Instant Pot is that's pretty much it. And so now you could see, I don't know if you could see, just kind of covering the quinoa with the water, just barely. And then I'm just going to place it in my Instant Pot. This is a 6-quart. I'm going to close the lid, start at 11 o'clock. You hear a little song. And then I'm going to close up the seal. And I'm going to push it, and I'm going to change the time to 1 minute. Now, I know we're going to be talking longer than 1 minute, but at 1 minute, it'll be cooked, and then I let it natural release. You could do it, there it goes, the little ding. You could do it for about 5 minutes if you're in a hurry, the natural release, or it'll be fine until we're ready. And so, so those are the 2 things that I wanted to get prepared ahead of time.
Wow, you are fabulous. Some people could be intimidated. Oh, maybe they never even made quinoa. And it really is a simple thing to do once you know how. And you just showed that if you have a pressure cooker, it's even simple, but you could even do it on the stovetop if you didn't have a pressure cooker. Just remember to rinse it, and then it cooks so quickly. So if you just needed something, if you just had a frozen bag of vegetables and you wanted to put some quinoa in there, you could do that, and it would be a very quick dish. And so I'm glad that you're showing us about the quinoa.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's kind of funny because my husband really likes rice, and most people eat a lot of rice. It cooks faster than rice, and rice cooks pretty fast. Even you can buy the ones in the microwave. But of course, you have to account for it getting, sealing and then, letting go of the natural release portion of it.
Yeah, and you can keep it in the refrigerator so you could make it, batch cook it, and have some for another meal. Carrie said, I love turmeric. Me too.
Yay! I know it's such a great flavor and it does so many wonderful things. I used the powder here that was dried, but I actually have fresh. And so, you could take like a microplane and you could, shred it yourself and add it too. But yeah, love turmeric.
Right. And it's nice to have the powder around. And Mona wanted to know, actually, what are your thoughts on ground versus grated turmeric? And I was just about to talk about that because I started to say that it's nice to have it ground, but I have it. I have both as well. And what do you do? What do you like?
So I have both as well. If I have a choice, I do prefer to use the fresh. The fresh sometimes in my area can be very pricey. And so, or if I want to do something where I want it like really blended, like something that I'm going to hand mix, let's say, a dressing or something, then I might prefer, or like what we did today, I might prefer the dry so that it evenly coats. But if you can, I don't know, fresh is always so great. But either way, I think you can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm. And what I like to do, I also have fresh ginger in the house because we put the turmeric and the ginger, we put it in our dressing that we batch make for the week, and we also put it in our morning smoothies. So what we like to do is we purchase it and we clean it all up, and then we cut it into maybe 1-inch chunks, the ginger and the turmeric, and then we stick it in a Ziploc bag and throw it in the freezer.
Oh, really? I love that idea. So
Mm-hmm.
you peel ahead of time and have it ready to go?
I get organic and I don't peel.
Oh, okay. So you just get organic and you use the whole thing.
I use the
That's
whole thing.
awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then sometimes in a recipe, if we if we don't want to have the little bits of ginger or turmeric, we have I don't know if it's a mini blender. It's what we have. It's called a NutriBullet,
Oh,
and we'll
yes.
just put a little bit of water in there with the turmeric or the ginger, and then buzz it up in there, and then it'll make it into a liquid, and then we can pour that liquid into a recipe and have the taste and of course the anti-inflammatory, which is the most important part. But you don't get those bits of it in there if you don't like the little pieces.
So you don't drain the water, you keep the water and everything and use it. Is that right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I
That
love
is a
that.
part of the recipe. Yeah. So, but it's always nice to have the powder just in case you run out or whatever, or maybe whatever the recipe calls for. So yeah, see, so we're trading tips and we're
Right.
learning.
Yeah, I do have some fresh in the refrigerator, but I went ahead and did the dry. But yeah, great questions too. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, yeah. And please go ahead and type those questions in the comments, and most of them will probably pull up at the end, but if it comes up during the broadcast that it's a good time to bring it up, we will. Okay, so now you're going to continue making this recipe a little bit later after things cook and they're ready to go. But what we came here to talk about also was the thyroid. And we're going to begin with our true or false game. So let's get started with that.
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
Okay, true or false? Hashimoto's hypothyroidism is an autoimmune condition. What do you think, Green Warriors? Type in your guess. Okay, and while they're doing that, let's hear what Jennifer has to say.
Yes, true. Hashimoto's hypothyroidism is an autoimmune condition. So whoever said true, you're right.
Yeah. So we're talking about Hashimoto's, but also when people have thyroid conditions, there are two kinds that they can have. And today that's what we're talking about. But we can also talk about the other in a little bit, because I think that what you've discovered would probably be beneficial for both kinds.
Yeah. So the other kind is that you're either hypo or you're hyper typically. when you're dealing with a thyroid problem, meaning your thyroid is either overactive or underactive, underperforming. And so it can affect how your body is. But yeah, that's what I would say about what you were saying.
Yeah. Okay. So should we do the next question? Do you want to do the next one, or you want to talk a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Whatever. Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay.
Bring it on.
Right. True or false? People with Hashimoto's should avoid all forms of iodine. Go
Do you
ahead.
want me to? Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know if you're
Yeah.
okay. So people with Hashimoto's should avoid all forms of iodine. That is false. That is false. Iodine can be a very complex thing. It's very individualized per case. So some people, it's probably recommended that you check with your doctor to check your levels to see the amounts, and if you're not getting enough or you're getting too much, it's not good. But iodine is super important for thyroid function.
Yes, it is. Which
And
is,
Hashimoto's, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's so important that they had eventually put iodine in table salt because people were not getting enough in their diet. And I often think if when people have a lot of salt, then maybe they're getting a lot of iodine too. So, but we don't have added salt in our diets.
Yeah, isn't that interesting that, back then when iodine was added to the salt, it was because it was very typical for people to be using a little bit of table salt. And this way, everybody supposedly, right, would get their dose in without really being aware. And before that, people were getting like goiters, which are these big growths on your neck, and other kinds of problems. But nowadays, there are different ways that we can get it, and you don't have to necessarily have the sodium involved.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of things that you can do. You just have to learn, and you have to be informed and do your research, or talk with people or listen to people that have already done research, which you have. You've done a
Yeah,
lot of research, so you've learned a lot about this. Okay, should we go with the next question?
sure.
All right, true or false? Fatigue and weight gain are common symptoms of Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. Okay, Green Warriors, what do you think about that? And Jennifer, tell us.
True. Definitely. Fatigue and weight gain are very common symptoms. They're not all the symptoms, but they're very common symptoms with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, definitely. And that's an indication that if you feel like you can't figure out what's going on, maybe you're having some of those symptoms, you might want to get your thyroid checked by your doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much to know, and it seems like a lot of these things can be more prevalent than they used to be. So a lot of things that we're encountering now. Okay, so we have a couple more questions. Let's
Sure.
do the next one. True or false? A whole food plant-based diet can help manage symptoms of Hashimoto's. Okay, Green Warriors, tell us what you think, and Jennifer, let's talk
This
about it.
this one, hopefully everybody gets right, and it can help manage it. So that would be definitely true. Now, it's not going to cure it by itself, but it does help with overall health support, reducing inflammation, and so many other benefits outside of thyroid.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful? Yeah.
Yes.
So Mona said, I had a yearly lab show very low thyroid, was put on meds, I'm assuming thyroid medication, and the next one was horribly high. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so you
That's
just,
interesting. Yeah. So I wonder if they had it done close together, because the body tends to respond. And I know for myself, there was a time when they had to regulate it and kind of see where the body landed. But good for you to check it out.
very important. So maybe you want to tell us about your story with your thyroid.
Yeah, sure. So I have been dealing with thyroid issues for 35 years that I'm aware of. And I also have the Hashimoto's autoimmune disease as well. I have been on medication, and I actually have my little bottle here, for 35 years since being diagnosed. And over the last year, I actually have been trying to reverse and heal it through whole food plant-based eating, which has been working out. I am still on my medication, but I've been able to not only reduce the dosage, but reduce the amount of times a week that I take it, which has been really exciting for me. And so, I just thought maybe we should take a minute also to talk about, like, what is it? If you're fortunate enough not to know what it is, we could talk about, like, the thyroid is this little small butterfly shaped gland. It's right here in the neck. And it plays a super important role in keeping the body's running smoothly. And it produces a hormone that's super important. And the hormone can give us things like controlling our energy level, our metabolism. It even can regulate heartbeat rhythm and sometimes our mood. So it's a little tiny thing. We don't even pay much attention to it, but it does so many amazing things for us. And it's really important that we have it and are aware and take care of it. So I like to think of my thyroid as like a thermostat, kind of, because it helps regulate how fast things work inside of me. Like, for example, for me, I get cold hands and I get cold feet often. And that is something that is regulated through the thyroid, as well as hair. Like my hair, sometimes I can have hair loss that's a little more than what we would normally consider as a normal hair loss. Also, I get dry skin, not just because of the weather, but these are different things that can be caused by abnormal thyroid. And that's why I like to think of it as a thermostat. My actual diagnosis is Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. That's what I have. And when you think about, or you're wondering what causes Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, well, it is an autoimmune disease, which we had talked about with the questions. And that just means that the immune system mistakenly attacks the thyroid. It thinks it's like an intruder, which is really odd to think that it would do that to its own body. And it can lead to damage, and it often reduces the ability of the thyroid to produce the hormone that is so important for us to have. So, the exact cause, I don't believe, and I'm not aware of, I don't believe that it's fully understood. So I don't know if anyone has any questions so far, but I'll just say that it can also, it can be caused sometimes by environmental triggers, people have said, by genetics, people have said, and stress. Also, for me, I have family history, but I also believe that my thyroid issue was triggered after giving birth to my oldest daughter. So that is a joyful time, right? But the body is under an extreme amount of stress. And that's when I ended up having a problem. But I did want to just mention, like, for genetic reasons. So my grandmother, an uncle, my mom, we have different people in the family that also have thyroid. So they've always said, oh, it's genetic. But what's interesting is we have a set of twins in our family. One twin has thyroid and was diagnosed as a child, which isn't very common, and the other one, nothing. So is it genetic, or is it like some of these other things in plant-based world where you have the gene, but it can be turned on, So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, Roxy said my son was diagnosed with Hashimoto's when he was 12. and he's now 27.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh, that's really young. And that isn't as common, but it can happen. And I wonder if they figured out the reason for his diagnosis. Just curious, but glad it's caught and under control.
Oh yeah, because I could imagine these kinds of symptoms, especially at certain times in our lives, people can think, oh, I'm just getting older, or, or whatever it is, and they attribute these symptoms to maybe other things, not thinking that a doctor could help them, or that maybe even diet could help them. So it's something that we all really need to be aware of. You know, I know for me, I've had my thyroid check, and I fortunately I don't have any problems with it, but my hands and feet are always cold. I mean, well, not like during the hot summer, but they can be cold when other people's are not. And it takes me a long time to get them warmed up once they're cold. So people have said to me, because there's a few things that it could be, and people have asked me, have you looked into this? And it's none of those things. So I think just for me, that's just unfortunately what it is for me, which is why I moved to Florida. Because
Well,
it's awful when your hands and feet are cold, right?
yeah, and some people, it's circulation, or there's other reasons for it, but that is something if you have other things and you're trying to figure it out, but oh, you're so fortunate. Good for you not to have to deal with anything like this, because it can really mess you up.
Oh yeah. I mean, because I lived in the north, and I remember in the wintertime I would have on boots and gloves, and still my feet and hand. And then when I would get indoors, it would be maybe an hour later, and they're still trying to get warmed up. You
Oh
know.
dear. Yeah,
So
well,
yeah.
Hashimoto's affects millions of people. So it isn't like something that we don't hear about. It is a lot more common in women, especially women that are middle-aged or older. But like we've been saying, children can get it, men can get it too. And the thyroid influences like so much, right? It's Hashimoto's can lead to all kinds of symptoms that we've kind of mentioned, which are weight gain, the hair thinning. It can even affect depression, mood. We said mood, but depression. Like people get depressed and they're like, I don't know why I'm depressed. Or even the brain function and memory issues. So there's a lot to it. And we tend to compartmentalize everything, don't we? But it's all connected. But it is nice to understand, about certain things. So I can share about, how it's typically diagnosed in the United States. And I don't know, how it's diagnosed elsewhere. So everything I'm sharing is just basically my own experience. But doctors usually diagnose it. They take a blood test. It's a simple blood test. And they typically test something called the TSH, thyroid stimulant hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone. And then sometimes they'll also test something called the free, FREE, T4, the number 4, and the free T3. And these are different levels that will give them an indication if there's something going on. And some doctors will look for the thyroid antibodies, which can be an indication of an autoimmune attack. But a lot of doctors don't, because there isn't really anything to do medication-wise for Hashimoto's. So why test it? And that is not what I think, but that is what I have experienced. It's like, oh my goodness. So anyhow, how it's treated in the United States is most people get treated with a medication like mine. I'm not sure, what happens in other countries. There are over-the-counter, like natural ways that people also treat Hashimoto's and hyper or hypothyroid. But I do use the medications the last like medication that I'm on, which is super great. And there's two different kinds. There's the brand, which is called Synthroid levothyroxine. Synthroid is the shortened version of how people refer to it. And then there's the generic, which is the levothyroxine. Now, when I first got diagnosed, I was told never go on the generic because the Synthroid brand is actually produced in a handful of states here in the US, and it's very accurate and precise. Each pill has the exact amount of whatever your dose is. Whereas at the time, and this is 35 years ago, guys, so when generic, they would often be by different companies, and every pill wasn't managed the same in terms of the dose. And so some people, if they're very sensitive and they would take the generic one, then they would find that it wasn't working for them. So I took the brand for years and years and years. Now I am on the generic. The generic has come a long way, and I've tested my own blood with my doctor to see if I have any of those ups and downs, and I do okay. And the reason I decided to change over is because of price. Even with insurance, it can be very pricey to go with the brand versus the generic. So I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, great. Well, John wanted to know, can you speak to the thyroid issue in male versus female, and why it seems women are more aware of this than men when it's actually prevalent? Okay, I'm not sure about that. I don't know. When it's actually prevalent equally in both of us, is that true?
So, that's a really great question. I just know most of my own experience and the little bit of research that I've done. Well, a lot of bit of research that I've done for myself. Typically, I think that women tend to stress out more, but that's an opinion. I don't know that that's a scientific fact. And I truly believe that stress, among other things, can really play an important role in it. Men do get it. Men definitely do get it. And it isn't spoken about as much. And that's a good question. I'm not really sure, but I hope that answers your question a little bit. If you feel like you are, or someone that you know that's a male is having some of these symptoms, bring it to the attention of your healthcare professional. And if they are, not really on board, just ask, like, can you at least just test this? Because if they don't bring up the idea and you're learning about symptoms and you know of someone or your own self, have it tested. Then you can rule it out or not. And if something comes up, then you'll be able to take care of it.
Yeah, that's good advice. In the chat, I asked the Green Warriors, what's one thing you've done to support your thyroid? Let us know. And Mona said, adopted a whole food plant-based exclusive eating plan. So
yay!
It's so nice when you hear that people, because somebody could benefit from it, but if they never heard about it and didn't know that that was something that could help, it's nice when you hear about people actually learning about it. And I guess if she said that she adopted it, then it must be helping her as well, which is very nice.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with plants, everybody. They're so wonderful for us. And I I love that, Mona. Thank you for sharing that, and good for you. And so let's see. Another thing is, people ask, like, can it be cured? Well, I'm going to say it depends on who you ask. While, Hashimoto's doesn't currently have a cure, many people do manage it, sometimes with the dose of medication that I spoke about. But, doctors, like I said earlier, don't typically test for it because and I was told this at the beginning, there's no point, right? Because there's no way to cure it. And that's what I heard from the Western medicine, sector. But I actually have my own thoughts about that. And I believe that it can be cured, and improved through stress management, through whole food, plant-based lifestyle, like we've already spoken about, because I'm experiencing that, and I have experienced that. And so I'm going to share about, a little more detail about that in a few minutes. But, does stress play a role? And I've been saying this kind of throughout. I believe that stress and emotions definitely play a part in this. Chronic stress can disrupt our immune system. Do we even think about that? Does anyone ever tell us that? No. And emotional health is often, closely tied to our physical health. So managing our stress is so important in this day and age when we're bombarded with things that keep our stress level up. So, yeah, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Oh no, I was just, let me get back on here. Yeah, I was just looking at the different comments, and Todd said we're simple creatures.
Oh, men. I'm guessing that means men.
I think so. Yeah. Oh, because John said, yes, from my observations, men are not as vocal or good at communication regarding their personal issues. We are not that smart. I think you're smart. You're a different smart. Right?
Yeah.
That women are more about the vocalization than men. Men are more of the let's fix it now.
Yes, and so hopefully this will be encouraging, that if you're a man and you're feeling that way, go ahead and just ask the question, and hopefully now you know of some questions or some things to consider, and then if it's something that you need to have addressed, you'll be able to do that. So great conversation.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I love
yeah.
how people are chatting, and this is what I like. We have a Green Warrior community, and people are chatting and putting in their input. So what I think, is there anything else you wanted to talk about with the thyroid? Did you want to do the recipe demo? I don't want to mess up
Yeah,
your time.
I have a few more things that I could share about the thyroid.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, so just supporting thyroid health, and I could just share a little bit more detail about my story, and then we can go into the recipe. So I've learned through my journey so far that eating a balanced, nutritious diet, and that for me means whole food, plant-based, SOFA's-free, gluten-free, managing my stress to the best of my ability, getting a good night's sleep. I mean, you hear these things all the time, but it's really true. And working closely with a healthcare provider has made a difference for me. And when I say healthcare provider, I actually have several different ones. I have somebody that I go to that's in the whole food plant-based world, and it's a medical doctor. And then I also have a local person that's a holistic MD, and I try to make sure that we're all on the same page. And that has been really helpful. And so I kind of know where I am with both. And so I'll just share about when I got diagnosed. I briefly just said after I had my daughter, who's 35, and that was 35 years ago. I had a lot of hair loss, and the doctor was saying that that's common when you have a baby. I had a regular, normal delivery. She was full term. There was no problems. But I thought, this is ridiculous. And I used to have super thick hair. And so one day I took just one day's worth of hair and filled a Ziploc bag. And I brought it to my appointment, and I said, is this amount? Is this okay? To my obstetrician. And he said, no, that's too much. So then he tested my thyroid, and then he put me on medication. Shortly after that baby, I had another baby, and I also found out that I had a nodule. And we didn't really talk about nodules, but I had a nodule on my thyroid gland, and it's kind of like a cyst or a little tumor. It's like a little, mine was benign. I had to have a needle biopsy, which was not fun because they told me don't swallow. And what did I do? I kept swallowing the needles.
Sure, when you're worrying about something, that's like a reflex.
Yeah, and so for mine, they couldn't get anything out, and so they did ultrasounds on it every so often, like every few years, and they measured it. and they just watched to see if it would grow. And lucky for me, it did not grow very much over the course of many, many years. I currently don't have it. After I did a stay at True North and did a water fasting, I had it tested and there is no nodule. So,
But those of you that aren't familiar, True North is a water fasting place that you can go where you're supervised by doctors who specialize in water fasting. You don't have to fast if you go there, but that is one of the reasons that people go there, and you decided to do that and found a benefit from it.
Yeah, and that wasn't the reason that I was going there. So you never know what could happen. But I don't have that anymore. I will also share that I, was having my regular doctors take care of this. So when I went from the obstetrician to like my regular doctor, they would write the prescription, and I never knew anything else. I was a young mother. I didn't know any questions to ask. I didn't really question them because I really believed that, well, this is just what it is. And what I learned maybe 15 years into it is that there's a thing called an endocrinologist, which is a special type of doctor, and they handle the endocrine system, and the thyroid is part of it. No one had ever said it to me. I didn't even know what that was. And so I did finally go to one, and so, that's why I also like to share this and some of my story, because how would you know? Like, if no one tells you, how would you know? And that whole time I could have been with a specialist who maybe I would have gotten other information. I'm not sure. And I didn't understand anything because I didn't even know what the gland was. I didn't know what it did. I just knew that the doctor said, it's not a big deal. You take one of these once a day for the rest of your life. And I was like, I do what? And he just said, it's not a big deal. And so I just thought, okay. But now I would question things, and I've learned otherwise. So I've tried different ways to heal. I've shared with you that I went to True North, which we talked about is the water fasting place. It's up in Northern California, and it's medically supervised, changing my food and sleep and all those things that I have done. I was able to bring my dose down from 75 micrograms to 50 micrograms, which is quite a bit of improvement. And so then from there, over the last year, I have been trying with my doctors, both of them, help and blood tests, and continuing to eat the way that I do, to see, can I reduce the amount of days that I do this? Because I would love to get off of this. And so what we did was we did the tests, and I was actually, after True North, I found that some of my numbers were elevated. That meant I was getting too much. Yeah. So they said, yes, we dropped the dose. And then, of course, we took a day away. So instead of taking a pill one day for 7 days, I was doing it for 6 days. And I did that for 6 or 8 months. And then after that, I was able to drop it down again to 5 days. And then I recently just tried Dr. Brooke Goldner's protocol. She's from Goodbye Lupus. She does Goodbye Autoimmune. Yeah, and she has a whole protocol and smoothies and all kinds of things. And I tried that, and I just recently found out that for my thyroid, it wasn't long enough for me to see if anything changed. And I had to stop it because I had some other things change. But my doctors both said, if we can get these other things, side notes, that kind of my iron was a little lower, and a few other things, if we can get those back up, they would support in continuing that. And, I did it for 7 weeks. Her protocol, when she does it with people, is 6 weeks. But then you got to think, I've had this for 35 years. Yeah. 7 weeks is that long enough, And I've also learned that a lot of people heal if it's 10 years or less that they've been dealing with it. Here's me. Well, it's been 35 years. I'm still going to try. And so far, even if I have to stay on the medication, I want it to be as minimal as possible.
Yeah.
And so anyways, the last thing I just want to share about this is we talked a little bit about the iodine. I just want to show you that this is dulse, and it's a seaweed, and it's a natural seaweed, and it says wild Atlantic sea vegetable, and it's iodine. So originally my doctor said, just take a little bit, and I'll show you what it looks like in case you're not familiar. It's really dried. It's just kind of this funky looking dried seaweed, and just take a pinch off and kind of crumble it on my salad or add it to my smoothies. And so I was doing that. And then I also learned about an iodine drop that you can take, because I understand that iodine and cruciferous taken together, and I learned this through Dr. Brooke Goldner, can sometimes not allow the iodine to be processed at its full potential. So separating it with a drop really works. And so I've tried both of those. And then the last thing that I'm kind of hemming and hawing, has anyone ever heard of or used castor oil or castor oil packs? I don't know if you can see the label right there, but they make these for the thyroid. And Amy, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I
wasn't familiar with it as a protocol for a thyroid, but I was familiar with the castor oil. This is interesting.
Yeah, so castor oil, I'm learning, does so many amazing things for so many people and so many different body parts and tumors and all kinds of stuff. But what I learned is that it can help with nodules, which I don't have anymore, and just in general help the thyroid. So I bought this, you don't have to get one of these. It kind of looks like an eye mask, but it's not. It's meant for the thyroid. And you don't have to have this. You could just get like a towel and maybe like some cloth, kind of like a cheesecloth. And this came with this little pad. And then what I do is I this is very thick, and I take it and I pour it all over this top cotton thing, and I just give it a few minutes to really try to absorb. And then I take the whole thing right against my skin, and I just put it here. It's got this little tie thing. You could put it over and tie it, and then I try to sleep. Now, some people think that's dangerous, and it might be for some people because it's like this thing around your neck. So you could always do like, something else that's, like a nap or just a little bit. But, I want to be open to trying things that are non-conventional. And so I just wanted to show that. That's the last thing that I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, because maybe you come back and just talk about castor oil, because it sounds like you have learned a lot about it, because you're very proactive, and that's a really good thing. You have to take your own health into control sometimes, because you're the one that's going to be in charge of your life. And like Jennifer was saying, just because somebody's wearing a white coat doesn't mean they know everything that it's going to be best for you. And you really need to do your research, watch broadcasts like this, and learn. Okay,
Yes.
So let's see. So Lisa wants to know, how do I know if my thyroid's underactive or overactive?
Yes. So, of course, the blood test and the doctor will tell you. But some of the things, if you're underactive like me, it's more of a sluggish feeling. Sometimes if you have a physical feeling, the hair loss, a little bit of weight gain, just fatigue, and just kind of sad, or that kind of thing. If you're hyper, and I always think of the word hyper is in it. You're hyper. You can't slow down. You got to go. You got to go. You got to go. Not normally. And people sometimes can get a problem with their eyes. Their eyes can get they look kind of buggy out of the sockets from hyper if it's not treated. And then of course you can get goiters, which we spoke about briefly, which is a big. It's just a giant. It can turn into a giant growth. But so you'll either feel like you can't stop, or, really sluggish. Those are two indicators that I know about, but it's always good to check the blood. The blood tells us the story.
Okay, and I think Sarah may have hopped on late, but are there specific foods that help support thyroid health naturally?
Yeah, so we talked about whole food plant-based. I'm going to be putting together, whenever you want me to, a recipe, and I can talk about why I chose this recipe and that it's good for thyroid function, whenever you'd like, Amy.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great segue to the recipe demo. I love it. Okay,
Okay,
why don't we do
okay,
that? And then Sarah will learn firsthand the things that you have found that are supporting that thyroid health.
okay, that sounds great. So let me get my knife out, and you can do whatever you want, but I'm going to go ahead and just chop up just some clean spinach. Spinach is really great because it provides magnesium, it provides iron, it's essential for energy production, and it regulates the hormone. And that's just a big thing about what we were talking about. So I like to use spinach as a base, and I just chop it up. You don't have to. I like to chop it up because I like smaller bites, and I like to get more than just a giant leaf in my mouth at one time. And so I'm going to go ahead and place that right in here. The next thing that we're going to get is we're going to take the sweet potatoes out of the oven. They should be ready. And let me show you that. Oh, yeah, they look good. They look good. So, and the recipe calls for 2. This is just 1, So if you make 2, it'll be double this amount. And let's just give it a little taste here. Make sure, yeah, that tastes good. Okay, so sweet potato. Let me just grab a little thing to scoop it. What we're going to do is we're going to grab some sweet potato. And these are the seasoned sweet potatoes. And I'm just going to put it onto one side, right like that. You can add as much as you want. Oh my gosh, so yummy. So sweet potato, it's rich in beta carotene. It's got a lot of antioxidants. And that also helps with overall immune function and thyroid health. I mean, who knew? Who doesn't love a sweet potato? I know I do. The next thing I want to talk about is the quinoa. And I have the quinoa cooking in here. So let's just, it already natural released. And I'm just going to take the lid off. Hopefully you can see me. I'm trying to hold the lid over it so that the condensation will go into the food instead of all over the counter, which has happened. And I'm just going to pull this out and bring it closer so you guys might be able to take a peek. And then I just like to fluff it, just kind of, what does that mean? Just mix it up a little. And then you might even want to take the spinach and kind of, I like to make a little space in here if you don't want the spinach wilty, and then you can just place this. We're building our bowl, and put as much of that as you want. And the quinoa delivers the plant-based protein. It's got selenium, and it's actually a key to the thyroid function. It's a key mineral. Another thing that is also in this category are beans. And, you can, we have pinto beans today, but I'm also going to be making a dressing with you in a minute with hummus. And chickpeas are also part of what I just talked about in terms of delivering protein and selenium with the quinoa. So the next thing I'm going to do is add some flaxseed. I have flaxseed here that I get. It's in its full form. I go ahead and grind it up in my dry mix container. You can use a coffee grinder. The thing is, you want it ground up into a powder, and you want to do it fresh. You don't want to buy it that way, because if you're trying to heal, it can oxidate. So you won't get the same benefit. And so I just want to pour, as much as I want on here, and just get my flax in there. It's really great, the omega-3s that it offers. And omega-3s, fatty chain acids, or I'm saying that backwards, but the omega-3s help with anti-inflammatory. They bring inflammation down. It is a huge, huge thing that we need with thyroid health as well as other things too. And then we're also going to just set this aside. Well, no, I'm going to do one more thing. I didn't really talk about this, but back here I had this kind of made ahead of time, and it's just some spinach that I steamed because we have raw spinach, but I also like the benefits of cooked spinach. And then I was using some pinto beans. You could use any beans, and I just like to heat them up, and I just add that to our bowl. So we get all these wonderful things. And then this, I like to cook it in a steamer, but sometimes what happens is it gets stuck to the side of the steamer. So I found that this Corningware container fits really great. And if I'm not doing a whole gigantic amount, then I might just steam it right in there. And if it's really, really wet, because spinach has a lot of water and it's not super hot right now, you can just squeeze out the liquid, or like Amy, you can add it to the salad dressing or use it for something else. And then what I just like to do is give it a little chop. And then I will also put this somewhere in here. And okay, let me move that. And then I'm going to set this aside for a minute. We're going to make a quick salad dressing, and then we are going to taste it. Another thing that I also like to do that we're going to add at the end is some avocado. So, oh, and red bell pepper. I'm getting excited. So I'm going to go ahead and add red bell pepper, which is also fantastic. Okay, so that's that. And then what I have is, you can make hummus homemade. If you don't want to do that, then buy it store-bought. You can actually find hummus that has no oil. Sometimes you can find no oil, no salt. But if it's going to prevent you from doing it, if you feel like it's a task to make it, then just buy store-bought. But whichever, I like to do both. I use both. And I just want to do an original, and I'm going to add to it. And so what I have here is some already minced fresh garlic, which I'm just going to put right in this thing right here. And then I'm going to add some lemon or lime juice. Now, I kind of already pre-squeezed it, and I just want to do a little bit at a time. Maybe I have like half a tablespoon. And then I'm just going to mix it up. And the idea is that you want to make it thinner than regular hummus because, and I'm just going to keep going, because you want it to be a pourable dressing. Now, if you taste this and it's like, oh my God, that's enough, I don't want any more lemon or lime in here because it's getting to be too tart and it's still not thin enough, well, go ahead and add a little bit of water. But lemon juice boosts the absorption of iron from the plant foods, and it provides vitamin C, which is good for the immune system, which again ties into the thyroid. And so let me just give it a little taste. See, and I like citrus, so I'm going to go ahead and add the rest in there and have this so that you can just drizzle it or pour it right over my salad. And it's a super, see, I could even add a little bit more, but it's much thinner than before. It was really dense. And so anyways, that's the dressing. And then I'm going to go back to the bowl and I'm going to add some cilantro or fresh parsley. This one is actually parsley, and I just want to do that as a garnish. But hey, if you like it a lot, you can even put a bunch of it on and mix it in with the original spinach, which is really, really great. And then the last thing is some avocado. Now, this avocado is one that's already been cut open. It's got a little bit of a discoloration, but for me, I don't mind. I just take a knife or a back of a spoon and I scrape the very, very top off, and you can see the color comes right back. And then I can cut in and just offer some avocado and just dump that right in here. Da, 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 da. And that looks so yummy, doesn't it? And then now I'm just going to sprinkle this dressing and we're done. Yum. And you can put as much dressing on as you want. You can also add lemon or lime, more, little apple cider vinegar, and it's all good. And so here we go. Let me grab a fork, and I just want to show everyone. Does anyone have any?
Yeah, let's pull it right up to the camera if you can. Maybe you can.
Yeah, definitely.
It looks so beautiful. I really want everybody to see that. Wow. Beautiful. Look at that. Thank
Yeah. And so that's it. And then you could just take a little bit of everything and enjoy, and know that you're helping your thyroid. So
Yeah. Lise or Lice, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. Says it looks delicious. Todd said yummy. That's what I say. Yeah, we're coming over.
and I just want to tell you, this is my serving bowl.
Mm.
So this is not a serving size to share, and this is kind of on the smaller side, but you can make it however, and that's what I love about bowls, right? So you can, like for my husband, he maybe would want more of the grain to fill him up more, and whereas I might want more of the greens, and so you can vary the amounts, but the overall is that you get all these pockets of different types of food from different categories, and the cooked and the crunchy and the raw and the baked, and it's just wonderful. And yeah, so thank you for allowing me to share this with everybody.
Well, thank you for sharing it. I love how you say this is mine. So, and that's the beauty of this lifestyle is we can eat all we want until we're comfortably full, and our body is going to direct us to the number of calories that it needs depending on our level of activity for that time of the day. And as long as we're eating the right foods, we're going to be healthy, and we're going to be not overweight or underweight. Our body is going to tell us what we need.
Yes, our bodies are so smart. We don't even give the body enough credit. And when you think about what's going on inside each cell, and all the different organs that we don't even have to think about, that are we don't think about, I better have my heart beat. Right? It's just incredible. So we need to, and I have learned also to trust the body and listen to its signals. It'll talk to me.
Yeah, Karen Michelle is on Instagram, and I can't pull up the comment, but she said, "Great demo, Jennifer." So
Oh, thank you so much.
yeah, I think it was fabulous. It's always nice to see other people prepare food and get ideas, because sometimes you look in recipe books and you really don't know how it's going to turn out because they don't always have a picture. And of course, we're going to have a link to the recipe in the description for everybody. So don't worry about that. We'll have that ready for you. I think it's just wonderful that you've taken your health into your own control, and you've done research, and you found things that are actually working for you, and that you're actually sharing it with us. And Mona said, "Love that salad." Yeah, we're all getting inspired that we want to try it too, because it's just great. And the thing is that it tastes delicious, and like you said, it has so many different flavors and textures. And I love plant-based cooking because just like you did, you said, let me taste this. No, I think I'll put more lemon. We don't have to worry about cross-contamination or anything.
Right.
We can just taste as we go, and know what it's going to taste like. So yeah, awesome.
Yes. And the last thing I want to say is I did that kind of the sample with you guys to see if I added that vegetable broth, if it would do anything. I think it did. So, there is still a little bit, this isn't hot anymore, but there is still, some of the seasonings that didn't stick to it, but a lot of them did. And so I would add that to the recipe if you can, if you want that extra tablespoon, just to give it a coating to have everything stick. But yummy, yummy. I'm glad that I was able to be of help, and inspiring, or whatever it is, bringing awareness and sharing, and I appreciate and thank you so much, Amy, for this opportunity again. It's always a pleasure.
Well, it was fabulous. Thank you. And I wanted to tell the Green Warriors that we had a book giveaway. We had Esther Loveridge on the broadcast. Actually, she's going to be coming up this month. She wrote a book called From Donuts to Potatoes, which I think I have it right here. And so we had a book giveaway. And so she offered a copy of her book, and we had people enter for this to win. Of course, if you didn't see that, if you subscribe to BeGreenWithAmy.com, you'll get notified about future giveaways. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because we're going to draw for that today to see who wins. And I think it's always exciting to do it live. So let's just see if we can bring that up. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go and try to spin the wheel and see who is going to win. Pat, congratulations, Pat S. You are the winner of From Donuts to Potatoes, and I'm going to get your information out to Esther Loveridge, and she'll get a copy of this book out to you. And I love doing these things. It's so much fun. But I'm glad that you guys all had a chance to see that drawing. And like I said, we'll have future drawings, so please stay tuned for that. We have wonderful people coming up that will be sharing copies of their books. And I really wanted to thank you, Jennifer, for doing what you did today. Everybody, please click like or you can click a heart to show your appreciation for what Jennifer shared with us today. And I want to give Jennifer an opportunity to talk about how we can find her on social media and all what she does. So tell us, Jennifer.
Yes. Thank you so much. Oh, so yeah, you can find me on YouTube, the Jennifer Diamond, and you can also find, that's where most of my stuff is, but you can also find some shorts and different pictures of food that I cook on my Instagram, which is diamondgirl369. You can also reach out. My website is thejenniferdiamond.com, and I do have a newsletter you can sign up for there. I'm also a certified plant-based nutrition coach, and so you can, on that website, you can reach out if you are wanting some one-on-one or any kind of extra assistance. And yeah, so thank you so much. I appreciate everything.
Well, Green Warrior, after watching Jennifer's story, what changes are you inspired to make in your own diet or lifestyle? Tell us about that in the chat so people who are checking this out can see what we were talking about today. So I wanted to thank you again for sharing your incredible journey and all the things that you've discovered, the delicious recipe demo, and empowering us with valuable insights to support thyroid health naturally.
Yes, thank you. I again appreciate the opportunity, and you know, like I said, if you have any other questions for me, I'm happy to discuss further any other questions that I can. But glad to have been here today.
Yeah, I was looking in the chat to see if we had any other questions. Let me just check one more time and see if there's anything else. If you have a question, Green Warrior, now's your chance. And let me just see. Okay, I think, well, Emily might have hopped on late. Emily wanted to know what are the early signs of thyroid dysfunction that we should look out for. So I don't know if you wanted to do a rundown of that again, or she can watch the replay.
Yeah, well, the replay will go into a lot more of the description and things that I shared, but depending on what you have, you might have different, you know, feelings, sensations. You might be sluggish, or you might, you know, feel cold on your hands and feet. You might have hair loss, you know, and that's for one type. Whereas if it's the other type, you might feel hyper, sweating more, and just, you know, have other symptoms. And so that's a general copy, I think, of what we talked much more in detail earlier. So I would suggest, if you haven't, to rewatch it.
Yeah. I think so.
The blood test will really give you the answers. And I have said that a few times, checking the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, the free T4, the free T3, those are the basic ones. I have some other tests that, you know, my doctor does a whole panel, and so that's really important. If I have one more minute, I would share something about the antibodies.
Yeah, let's do that.
When I originally found out I had Hashimoto's, I actually had heard about it and asked my endocrinologist, would you please test for this? And at first she said, we can, but there's no treatment. Anyhow, long story short, if you have numbers like and some of the tests varies. So my number might not be the same as your lab's number, but for my lab, it was 35, the number 35 or lower. And then it went up to 1,300, that was the range. And then they don't test anymore. And my results were that they said 1,300 plus.
Oh, wow.
For inflammation. And I didn't feel anything. I had no idea. And when I went to another doctor, one of the first things he said to me was, we really need to deal with the elephant in the room, because nobody had been. And here it is, this inflammation that I didn't feel. I didn't have any physical things. So it's another reason that it's really important to check the blood, because it will tell you sometimes when you don't know. And when I changed my eating and I started to pay attention to my stress, it went down to 1,100, and it kept going down. And sometimes it would creep up a little. And I am currently at 153.
Wow.
So I'm not healed, right? But I am way better.
That's amazing. Did you, is it the same endocrinologist that sees that change?
No, because we had lived in a different state at the time. But, during my whole food plant-based journey, especially over the last couple of years, I actually got it down about, I can't remember how far after I did the water fasting, but I actually got it down at one point to, I think it was 63. And my doctor said it would never happen, but I couldn't stay there. And I'm not sure why, but it fluctuates now between like 143 to 153, which is a huge accomplishment for me.
Yeah.
But I really want to get it. And I think that being able to do things like the food, or work with doctors that work with the food, like Dr. Brooke Goldner, who I haven't personally worked with, I just did it through her book and things. It gives you an opportunity to try to get rid of the antibodies that cause the inflammation. And that's why I think it can be healed. But I'm still working on it, but I'm improved.
Oh, that's so impressive. It really is. And I adore how proactive you are about all aspects of your health, and how you've actually found benefit from the things that you've learned, and you've actually have numbers, doable, concrete numbers that prove that this is something that can be done. And even if that's as low as you go, that's just tremendous and remarkable. And it's so inspiring that anybody who is challenged with the thyroid issue, they really need to take this lifestyle into consideration. And like we say, do an experiment, right? Just try it for a few weeks or a month or so. See what happens. What could go wrong? Just do an experiment. How bad could it be? And who knows, that could be something that could really be helpful to you. And I think you may inspire people. And also, I think that you are probably inspiring people that even if they've adopted the lifestyle, that maybe they want to take it up a notch, and get even better results, because to see what you've gone through and what you've done. So, Jennifer, what's your final take-home message for our Green Warriors?
Well, if you're going to decide to, if you're inspired and you decide you want to do something, I would really want you to consider doing it with a professional. The thing about the thyroid and getting off the medication, it's something that's not going to be a quick switch. It's going to take time. It could take a year. It could take a year and a half. You have to be patient. But making these small changes, I really think that you might be surprised. You might surprise yourself and realize that getting inflammation down can help with thyroid. It can help with all the hormones and get everything in balance. And if you do have to take medication, making sure that you're not taking too much, right? I thought I had to take it every single day, and I don't. So it stays in our system, and it's like a slow release. And so, just getting it as tight as possible, if possible, is the best way to go. And so that's what I would say. Just be patient with yourself, and just love yourself, right? And feed yourself nourishing, delicious, anti-inflammatory foods that will help you in your health in so many areas, but especially with the thyroid.
Yeah, that's fabulous. I love it. Yeah, and when you adopt this lifestyle, you could become over medicated with hypertension medication, cholesterol medication, diabetes medication, thyroid medication. So it really does work. So you, like Jennifer said, you need to work closely with the prescribing physician to make sure that your dosage can be titrated down as you improve.
Yeah, and if a doctor that you're working with doesn't want to do certain tests or isn't on board with you, find a different doctor. There's so many out there, and I mean, the two that I am working with currently, they're not the only two, but I feel confident that they listen to me. That's really important too. And if I have an idea about, can you add this to my blood? If they say no, why would they, right? So the ones that I work with, they say, well, sure, I'll add it. Right, because I'm paying for the lab anyways, right? So,
Exactly.
but I have heard of people where their doctors say no.
Yes,
So,
I've experienced it myself, and I actually have found a way to go to independently without a prescription. I can, without my doctor's prescription, I can go and get these tests done, and it gets drawn at places like LabCorp, and it gets drawn at these labs that you would go to anyway. And then they will actually interpret it for you. So of course, most of these things are not covered by insurance, but rather than for me, sometimes rather than just having to have that exchange with the doctor, I'll say, okay, fine, you don't want to do it, that's fine. And, and I just get it done. And it works out that way. So yeah, it's been, some of the doctors, I think they're so worried, oh, well, it's not covered by insurance, so you really surely can't do it. And here we are saying, well, it's so important to me that I'm willing to pay for it out of pocket, so why should it matter? But I guess if they can't put a billing code to it or something, a lot of doctors are just they can't think outside of that box to do it, or their practice won't allow them. I'm not really sure. But yeah, sometimes we just have to take it into our own hands and do what we can.
yes, we are our best advocates.
Mm.
Definitely. Nobody's going to care about ourselves better than we are.
Mhm.
And so if you're not paying attention, nobody else is going to. So pay attention, and maybe you'll find that you have a lot more energy and you can do all kinds of fun things that life is all about. So, yeah.
Yep, that's so true. Well, Green Warriors, tell us what you're going to remember from today, either the recipe demo or the presentation about the thyroid. There's a lot of things. If you type that in the comments, then it's going to help people who are scrolling along trying to see if they can get anything from our broadcast today. I also wanted to thank Jess Task Voice. She did the promo, she did the countdown, she makes the thumbnails. She makes my life so much easier and makes it so much easier to get the word out to all of you about these broadcasts, which is fabulous. And I really appreciate what she does. And Jess Task Voice, tell us who's coming up next.
Do you need a plan to survive the holidays while staying plant-based? Discover the top tips and strategies to enjoy the season guilt-free, stay on track, and feel your best with Esther Loveridge, who at age 72 lost 130 pounds. Conquer cravings and embrace a healthier lifestyle. Join us on Wednesday, December 11th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, on Be Green with Amy Live.
I love Esther. She's so much fun, and she always has positive things to say and a lot of great things to offer, just like you, Jennifer.
Thank you. And yes, I would agree with that. I had the privilege of meeting her at a conference not too long ago. So looking forward to that story. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you most of all, Green Warrior, because you joined us today, and your engagement and your support make these discussions meaningful and impactful. And I really hope that you're feeling inspired to take a closer look at your food choices and make some positive changes for your health and well-being. And remember, because every bite that we take, it's an opportunity to nourish our bodies and, like Jennifer, become the healthiest versions of ourselves. And please stay tuned for more empowering content, and please subscribe to my channel. Check out Jennifer's social media as well, and share my message with others who can benefit. And together as Green Warriors, we can make a meaningful difference in the world. And as a special thank you to all of you, I wanted to offer you 5 free recipes. So if you go to my website, begreenwithamy.com/join, then you can get 5 free recipes sent to your inbox over a couple of weeks. And it'll be a lot of fun. Some delicious whole food, plant-based, no added sugar, oil, or salt recipes that I enjoy, and I know that you're going to enjoy. And I also would like to invite all of you now to go ahead and take your right hand and grab your left shoulder, and take your left hand and grab your right shoulder, and I'll squeeze. Because that's a hug from me to you, a hug from me to you, Jennifer, too. And if you would like to join me and Jennifer as we do my tagline, and you can type it in the comments and be a Green Warrior with us. Are you ready, Jennifer?
I am.
Okay. Well, until I see all of you again, remember, be strong, be well, and be green.
Green! Be green! That's great.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you, Green Warriors. Please join us again really soon.
Now you can listen to Be Green with Amy expert interviews wherever you go. Listen while walking, meal prepping, or traveling. Find Be Green with Amy on Apple, Google, Alexa, Amazon, or virtually anywhere you find podcasts. Be strong, be well, and be green with Be Green.